All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Executive Orders by Tom Clancy, one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Tom Clancy book. I know at one point this was my favorite Tom Clancy book. After the reread that I just did, and after rereading a lot of the Tom Clancy books, I don't know if it's my exact favorite, but it is still a super dope Tom Clancy book. Came out in 1996. It's part of the Jack Ryan series. I would say it's book number maybe 9 or 10 in the Jack Ryan series. We've got two different versions here. I've got the original hardcover that I bought when it came out in 96. And then I got the paperback version, which has a different cover. Both of them, though, however, have the exact same photo of Tom Clancy on the back wearing his MAGA hat. No, it's not a MAGA hat. It's a USS Iowa hat, which I guess is a ship of some kind. But anyway, with his sunglasses and his MAGA hat, he looks pretty dope himself. The covers, though, let's review the covers, because I love graphic design and cover illustration. I like the original hardcover with the American flag on it best, besides the, this one has the airplane on it, the 747, which plays a big role in this book. But if I kind of even mention what role the 747 plays in this book, it's kind of a spoiler for the previous book, and I don't want to spoil the previous novel by mentioning a lot of the plot points of this novel, because this novel jumps into the action straight after the end of the previous novel, which was called Debt of Honor. I've got all my Tom Clancy books down here, so that's why I keep looking. Anyway, so the dedication of this book is to Ronald Reagan, which will let you know what kind of political bent Tom Clancy has in all of his novels and in his personal life. He worshipped Reagan. He's Republican. You can tell by the way that these books are sort of laid out from the very beginning that he's very conservative, very into Republican politics. So, Executive Orders. Oh my gosh. This book, I'm reading this book at the exact right time in history, because I'm reading this book. I read this book over the course of about a week, about 100 pages a night. It's a 1,200 page book. But this is the first couple of weeks in Donald Trump's presidency for a second term, where Donald Trump himself is signing tons and tons of executive orders that are controversial. Well, this book is called Executive Orders, and it's about a president, a new president, who's doing the exact same thing. And I think that these executive orders that are being signed in this book are sort of Tom Clancy's own Fantasyland version of executive orders that he might sign if he were president. So Jack Ryan is the main character. And Jack Ryan is, through events that happened in the previous book, Debt of Honor, is thrust into the presidency through a process of, just kind of a, I don't know, what do you call that? The process of elimination. In other words, he's like the only guy in government left that can be president. And so he is president. And that's the whole plot of this story, is when someone who's not expecting to become the president of the United States suddenly becomes the president of the United States via a massive terrorist attack. And let's face it, in Tom Clancy books, there have been a lot of terrorist attacks take place. I mean, even some nuclear bombs going off in Denver, Colorado, sized terrorist attacks. Well, we've got another one that happened at the end of Debt of Honor, and now Jack Ryan is president, and he's got to run the country. in the midst of this terror. And this is the thing. Here's the thing. What would you do if you were suddenly president of the United States, like Donald J. Trump or Jack Ryan, and you could just, with a stroke of a pen, kind of do the things you want to do? What fantasy land political things would you just executive orders into place? I know I'd do some. I know Trump has done some. I know in this book, this Jack Ryan does. One of the things that's cool, one of the reasons I loved this book is it came out in the 90s when I was first starting to I was a young man in college. I was first starting to understand politics and things like that, and getting angry with the government and government waste and all stupid government programs. And so when I read this book and I saw the character Jack Ryan sort of signing these executive orders to get rid of a lot of the bullshit that's in government, I was kind of cheering the character on a lot. And but at the same time as I'm rereading this book, I'm kind of noticing that there's a few things about the book that I'm like, so one of the things is Jack Ryan becomes a president. There's a big terrorist attack. He's got to give a news conference, but he doesn't give a news conference like normal. I wish there would have been a scene where he just stands up and gives one news conference, but the news conferences he gives are very odd. They're like, well, first he sits down with NBC. He gives them a news conference. Then he sits down with ABC, gives them a news conference. Then he sits down with Fox News, gives them a news conference. It's like, and then none of the news conferences, we don't get them fully. Tom Clancy, despite the size of this book, doesn't really tell us everything that Jack Ryan's saying, and I was just kind of frustrated with that. And it wasn't something I was really frustrated to begin in the first few times I read it. Now, the description of the terrorist scene, because we open up with, there was a big terrorist attack at the end of the previous book. Now we open up with the aftermath of the terrorist attack. And Tom Clancy, one of the things that I did notice this time that I hadn't noticed last time that I liked was there's just the description of the scene itself, the deformed bodies, the smashed buildings, the way the fire department was handling it, the way the police were handling it. All of that detail really added a lot to this story for me. And of course we've got Clark and Chavez, the sort of Jack Ryan's friends who kind of keep him safe, sort of his bodyguard types, his Jack Reacher guy. The guys that are his Jack Reacher go get things done guys, or Clark and Chavez, they play a big role in this. Now, one of the things that was another thing that was a little bit of a criticism of the book, but it's not a criticism of Tom Clancy's writing or the book, it's more of the Jack Ryan character himself. In this book, he seems a little bit more timid than normal. He's thrust into this presidency, and he starts to get lectured a lot by the other people around him, like, hey dude, you're being kind of a pussy, maybe you should like step up your game and be more of a leader. And I just never got that from the previous Jack Ryan books, that he was that sort of a kind of weak. He comes off as a little bit of a weakling in the beginning of this book, which was a little out of character, I felt, and everybody was kind of pushing him to be a strong leader, and he was just kind of like always backing up and second guessing, and he needed to toughen up, and he kind of does throughout the book. And maybe that's the whole plot point that Clancy was trying to get around, is in the midst of a terror attack, you're suddenly the president. How confident would you be? I don't know. I'm a pretty narcissistic guy. I think I would make myself king ruler for the world, and without apology, I'd just stand up and just spew my bullshit and be like, everybody's gonna do what I say. I wouldn't give up. I would, you know what I mean? But that's me. Tom Clancy had a different idea for the Jack Ryan character. And he's not only is he dealing with the aftermath of this terrorist attack and getting some executive orders going to get the country back in shape, but he's also dealing with things going on in Iraq, assassination attempts across the world of other world leaders, the Ebola virus. Oh my God. This book just, it's almost like it's copying what's happening today and day. I mean, we've got an Ebola virus he's dealing with. We've got executive orders. What is Trump? We've got COVID. We got executive orders. I mean, there's a lot of prophecy in his book. Came out in 1996. He's almost writing about what's happening in 2025. And as the parallels of today are numerous. Clancy's executive orders. I mean, just like I said, wouldn't we all want to have executive power for a little bit of time? I know, like I said, I would. I'd be a really bad ruler, though. I would not. I mean, I don't think I would confidently, narcissistically going in thinking that I was the most smart person on the planet, and it would probably end in this end of civilization. But that's just if it happens with me. Vote for me for president, people. I mean, I do have the #1 television show in the history of the universe. Why not make me the president? Executive orders. Still just, even though it might have dropped down my list of, maybe it's my second or third favorite Clancy at this point, when it used to be my first favorite Clancy book, it's still a solid 10 out of 10. It's still just a magnificent thriller, Jack Ryan thriller. And the ending is got some bang up, smash up, explosive action. So anyway, that's Executive Orders review.